Welcome. This is Starting Out Bright, and I am Noreen Savage. Thank you so much for being here. And people ask me, how did you get started with this? And I want to tell you who I am and who I am not. First of all, I am nobody official with Bright Line Eating, but the program has done a lot for me. And just to tell you who I am probably just like you. I had a lot of weight to lose. My high weight was 270 pounds at 5'2". And one day I'm looking through Facebook and my friend Lori posts on her page that she lost 57 pounds in 1 year with a program called Bright Line Eating. And if anybody was interested, just give her a holler and she would help you out. So my little fingers just flew over to Messenger and I got a hold of Lori in a hot second. And then she proceeded to tell me that there was a book by Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson called Bright Line Eating. And in the book is described 4 bright lines that you don't cross. No sugar, no flour, 3 meals a day, weighed in measured portions. And when Lori told me that, I was sunk because I thought there's absolutely no way that I can do that. But I like you, Lori. Let's get together for lunch. We got more talking about Bright Line Eating. And I just let that information sit with me because besides being overweight, I really had to look at myself. If I was going to do something like this, why would I go to all that trouble? I had tried every diet in the world, but I knew I was in pain. I had swollen feet. My knee was just horrendous pain, back pain, snoring every night, waking up my husband, times that I went to bed and seriously wondered if I would wake up in the morning, that kind of pain. And I decided to give this one more shot. And I took Lori's advice. I bought the book, read the book, and I got into a group called We Eat Bright with Lines, which is a private group. And it was there that I saw all of these people sharing their stories, their successes, and their struggles. I was seeing then and now pictures, and I was seeing results, like big time results, not just 5 or 10, but 50, 100, 150 pounds lost. And my hope just rose, and I thought, I'm going to try this. And if I last 1 year, I'm going to do what my friend Lori did. I'm going to post on Facebook and I'm going to help anybody I can. And so that year came up, July 2020. I'm a Christian and I felt in my spirit that God's saying, Noreen, you can do more than that. You could be helping people by getting people together, those who have been successful and those who need the hope and the help. And with Zooms, that was where we're at. So that's how Starting Out Bright was born. And I've been so grateful to my guests who have said yes when asked. And so tonight, here we are with Strik Kreuzinger, and she said yes, maybe hesitantly, but she said yes. And I'm so glad she did. You're going to be just delighted to meet Julie. Julie, welcome.
Thank you, Noreen. And thank you for all you do, because your interviews have helped me so much. So thank you for inviting me.
Well, I can't wait to share your story with the world because you have much to tell, a lot of great ideas, practical and inspirational. So we'll get started. I told a little bit about my story, but if you could kind of bring us up to speed, what brought you into Bright Line Eating? And just let's start from there.
Okay.
No matter how far you want to go back.
All right. Okay. Well, for me, my health had gotten so bad. For me, a big part of my journey and my problem with food was the NMF. NMF was huge for me. I was someone who would binge on the food. I had stashes all over the house of hidden junk food everywhere. And my family knew I did because they'd come and say, oh, do you have any of this in the house? Do you have any of that in the house? And and I knew it was wrong. I knew it was bad for me. I knew had the damage it was doing to my body, but I just couldn't stop. I really couldn't. And I had a lot of guilt on me for that, because when it came to my kids, I was just like, I have taught them these bad habits through their whole life, right? Like my kids are 17 and 20, and so they're older now and old enough to make their own choices. And when it comes to this stuff, but for me, it was like, I have taught them all these bad habits. I've taught them use NMF to celebrate, use NMF when you're sad, use NMF for this, use NMF for that. I mean, it's just what I did, right? And no matter how hard I tried, I could not stop it. I'd been diagnosed with diabetes for years, but my diabetes never was an issue really for me, because anytime I would check my sugars, they'd be fine. So I really didn't watch what I ate at all for years of them saying I was diabetic. But then in 2019, that's when my sugars actually started to get out of control. So that's when I realized, okay, I really do need to make changes here. I was 283 at my highest, and I think I'm about 5'6.5" inches kind of thing. So definitely overweight. I've never stopped to look how obese it was on the charts though. But anyway, so I had to start my diabetes medication in November 2019. And my A1Cs were 9.9 at the time, and I'm on high blood pressure medication and hypothyroid medication, all that stuff. So anyways, but what really got me too, between that and like when I was 45, I actually had to go and use walking sticks. And it was only because of arthritis in my one knee. I had to be off work for 4 to 6 weeks while I recovered and was able to start walking again, because I actually got to the point I couldn't even walk on it. So all those things were like compiling and showing me I needed to make these changes.
Right.
A friend of mine at work, she had lost a lot of weight, and I had asked her how she had done it, and she mentioned bright line eating to me. And when I asked her what bright line eating was, she told me, the basics of it, like she told me the 4 bright lines: no sugar, no flour, 3 meals a day, weighed and measured food. And she said, and you really have to watch your sugar and flour, right? Like you even have to check your ingredients and stuff. And I was like, no, no way could I ever eat like that. And I basically just brushed it off. Like I did sign up for Susan Pierce Thompson's emails. I did start getting those for a short period of time. But then I just went, nope, this isn't for me. And I just I unsubscribed and got rid of that. So yeah, but I just really felt like for me, the food was so hard, and I had honestly given up on ever being able to lose weight. Like I honestly had given up. And it's like, and I hate saying that, but I remember saying to my husband, I'm going to die young, and there's nothing I can do about it. I'm sorry, I get a little emotional about that.
Oh, it's just so hard to think that.
But
You have kids.
that's where I was, because I've tried so much, right? And then you have like thoughts in your head, like at least I had thoughts in my head of like, do you not care enough about being here for your kids? Like things like that. Like, do you not love yourself enough
Right, just hitting the
stop
pillow
eating
at
this
night.
food? Right.
Hitting the pillow at night and like, why couldn't I last today?
Mm-hmm.
But then at least I know for myself, having the resolve tomorrow is going to be better. And then just hitting that pillow again at night and wondering, what happened? I started out so well, but I'm curious. Well, I don't want to stop you where you are, but now about bright line eating. And
yes,
now
then I found out about it again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the second time when I found out from a friend's Facebook post, actually, because a comment, somebody had asked what she had done to lose weight, and they had commented in there, and she had just wrote that she did bright line eating. I was like, okay, I've now heard about this twice in my life. I'm now at my rock bottom of my health. Like it's getting worse than it was 5 years ago. And that's when I went, you know what? I am buying this book and I'm going to try this. And once I read the book, I was like, the book just sounded like she was speaking directly to me. I'm like, this is me. And I am going to try one more time. I'm going to try this plan, and maybe this plan will actually work for me, and I was so hopeful, and I read the book in 2 days and I started the next day. Yeah.
So when you started the next day, what did you do around you? I mean, now your children even, they know and for those who might be brand new to Bright Lion Eating, NMF means not my food. It's just a code acronym. But so what did you do to
Well,
get started? Did you go to boot camp? Did you do 14-day challenge or book only?
I did book only.
Okay.
I basically I went through my whole house and I got rid of anything that was not good for me to eat. And that I knew my other family members wouldn't eat as well, right? So I cleared that out, made a big donation of foods from my pantry. And then I basically had a family meeting. So I asked my husband and my kids to come to the living room and I said, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to try. But I really am it's gonna be so hard and I'm gonna need your support like really badly. So I told them what I was gonna do, explained it all, and then I basically told them, this is what I need from you. So I said, from now on, if you bring NMF home, then you go and you eat it in your bedroom or you go eat it in the basement, anywhere but around me. I don't even want to see it. I said, I don't want to see it at all. I said, don't ask me to take you to buy any of it. I said, there's other people in the house that drive if that can get you there if you want it, but don't ask me to do it. And I said, and even when you're done eating your NMF, I even asked them to roll up the wrapper and tuck it down in the garbage can so that even when I opened the garbage can, I didn't have to see anything, right? So, and I have to say, I told them, I said, I know I've tried so many times to lose weight, but I'm like, I really think this might work. But I do need your help. And I'm so lucky because I have super supportive family and my kids are awesome. So like when they bring something into the house, they literally will hide it in their coat behind their back, even while they walk past me. So I do have really good support that way. And my husband, he right away said, I will eat how you do. I will support you with this. He said, so he eats breakfast and supper, the same exact food I eat. And so that's made a huge difference too, because then you don't feel like you're doing it alone, right? Like,
Right.
So I'm really lucky that I've been able to be in an environment in my home where it's very controlled what I have access to or see, right?
Right. And now the other day we had a chance to talk and you told me about a couple things that you did. You're so glad you did now in this preparation stage as far as documenting where you were.
Yes. The first thing I did, and this was like recommended to me by my friend who I saw her Facebook post on, was she told me, do a video, get your photos, and take your measurements, right? And I'll tell you, I did not want to do that. Really did not. I didn't like photos of myself, and I sure didn't want to do it, but I did make myself, and I'm so thankful I did. Because it is really good to be able to see where you were and how far you've come, even just as you go through the journey, right? And the video, I really recommend the video if anybody is just starting out, because that video was hard for me to do. I was very like emotional when I did it. Like I was trying not to cry while I did my video. And I basically was telling myself why I was doing it. And, whenever I started to waver or feel like I was going to break down and have some NMF, I'd go rewatch that video, and that kept me strong, because there's nothing more powerful than you telling yourself. Do you know what I mean? All your
In your
reasons.
own gut-wrenching voice.
Yeah,
like the point of desperation in that moment that only you know what that voice means, really. Like, because you
exactly.
feel it as you're speaking it.
And like the first words of it even were like, because the first words of it were, here I am sitting on my couch doing this video because this is where I spend entirely too much of my time because I'm too sore or tired to do anything else, right? And even just that, hearing me say that first sentence was like, yeah, Julie, like you need to do this, right? So yeah, I really, really recommend if anybody is starting their journey, or even if you're in the middle of your journey, if you think the video might help you. And the measurements were really great too, because sometimes when the scale is not moving, you can still see change, right? That
Yes.
you may not see
So
on.
what did you okay, so you started with the book, you've called the family meeting, which is awesome. I mean, everybody, all hands on deck. You've instructed them, you've made your points made, and they seem like they're just totally on board. Your husband's on board. He's actually eating what you're eating, which probably is going to end up well for him in the future too. But so did you just did you get a cookbook or anything like that? Or did you just keep it very plain in the beginning, or what did you do?
I did. I kept my food really plain to start. And I think that really helped me too, because I didn't do any recipes or combining foods. It was really just, okay, here's my vegetables, here's my protein, here's my fruit. And I think that really helped me to succeed at first, because it was like, and it also helped me to get my mind around that kind of, so it was kind of like, I'm eating to be healthy. You know what I mean? I wasn't eating for joy of it, or for,
Right.
oh, I just really, really love this. It was more, I was eating to get myself used to, this is what I need to do to get healthy, right?
But
And
were
I
you
did that.
pleasantly surprised at how much you got to eat? I know that I was. That's why I asked, because the first breakfast I had, I thought, holy cow, I am full. And I realized that I was having a granola bar or this or that, running with food, but I would eat it, all morning, different things that were in the workroom or whatever. But having one meal, one spot, even though it was very simple, it was very filling.
For sure. And I found that even like at work was hard. Actually, my lunches at work were hard because it was taking me 45 minutes to eat my lunch. And I'm like, I only have 30 minutes. And it was like, and I was really finding that difficult. So I actually ended up kind of working through my breaks so that if I did end up going like a few minutes over my lunch, I didn't have to feel bad, because it was kind of just combining my two,
I found it shocking.
Now I can do it. Now I can eat in my 30 minutes, no problem.
I
That
found
was
it
just
shocking because we would have like Jimmy John's or something. And I realized how fast you can inhale a sandwich compared to a whole plate of food on like I eat at my desk, and it's like a whole plate and then some. So yes, I can see that it would take all of the time. And saying, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're getting started. How were you seeing results?
Well, actually, at first I was super discouraged because I followed the plan perfectly for 3 full weeks. And I didn't weigh myself for 3 full weeks. I was like, I'm not weighing myself for 3 weeks because I want to wait and actually see movement on this when I get on this scale. And mind you, I know my hormones were going crazy. I was having so many effects from changing my food so drastically. But when I got on that scale at the 3-week mark, I had actually gained 2 pounds.
Ooh.
And I was devastated.
Yes.
I was like so upset. But then I just went to myself, I went, you know what? You know for a fact that this is eating healthier than you have ever ate, like in the last 25 years. So keep going because it's going to work, right? So
Wow.
That's what I did. I just kept on going. And now, I mean, it's been just over 7 months and I've lost 70 pounds on Bright Line Eating as of today. So I encourage you, even if you are finding slow times or a slow start, to do keep going, right? I do feel it does, this plan really does work, right? And part of documenting it, Noreen, too, is like I also created an email account when I first started. So when I did the videos, photos, and measurements, I started an email account that was specifically just for my Bright Line Eating. So then I can journal, put any gratitudes, put my photos, measurements, anytime I have a non-scale victory, or reach a certain number on the scale that I've been looking forward to, then it's all in my emails. And I just put, this is day 100, this is day 105. And I don't journal daily anymore, but I did it a lot at first because it really did help me to stay on track with that as well. And it's private. And I just kind of figured that way, let's say one day my kids want to read it, I can give them my email password and they can go look at it. I am debating someday maybe putting it into a private Instagram account, but for now I'm just doing what I do because it's working.
Well, I love that idea. I love the privacy of it. I love it being chronological, that you're telling your story to yourself from day one. I wish I would have done that, but I guess I still could. There's always time to do it. But that is a great idea, Julie. I love that. What other habits did you get started with, or did you wait for a while before you added anything to the mix?
I just really followed the plan, basically, right? I just kept following the plan like it should be. I got into prepping food, right? Because for me, and make like, especially for lunches for work, right? Like, so Monday to Friday, my lunches, I always have those measured, packed, weighed in the fridge, ready to go. No excuses for me not to have my bright lunch. Because historically for me, like I would like, I accidentally ran out of time to pack my lunch. I guess I better go and get some lunch. And that's the kind of stuff that my saboteur will do to me. So I make sure I don't have any reason for not having that ready to go. Then I started so for the first 2 months, I would say I kept everything really simple, easy. Same with my meals for supper were easy. Like, I'd cook my chicken separate, then I would cook my vegetables. And now, of course, now that I've been doing it longer, now I started doing more of the recipe type stuff. And I found a lot of the recipes, like when you asked if I bought a cookbook or not, I really got into the Facebook groups. Like, people probably didn't know I was in the Facebook groups. Like,
you kept a low profile.
Yeah, I really did. For the first 3 months, I just watched. Right. I gathered information. I really just saw how helpful everybody was to each other, and I would go on the odd time and when I had a question. But and part of that being part of the groups was also like just the first few months, I bet I'd spent so much time on Bright Line Eating, like watching interviews that you did, Noreen, watching Susan's vlogs. I didn't do the boot camp or the 14-day challenge or any of that stuff when I started. So a lot of my information that I learned about Bright Line Eating was from people in the Facebook groups, right?
Right.
And from my buddy, of course, because once I reached out to the person who I saw on her Facebook post that she'd done Bright Line Eating, I reached out to her and I said, can you tell me a bit more about this? And she was so amazing, and she's helped me this whole time. So that's one of the other things that I do that I think helps me stay bright is I commit my food every night to her. And also another buddy, and this is the great thing about getting a buddy, right? Like, you start out with one buddy and then she introduces you to another buddy, and then you end up getting another buddy. And it's awesome because you do end up building this group that is there to have your back, right? So you have some personal friends that are always there for you when you need them. And then you also have the Facebook communities, right? Like, I've never been on an eating plan before where there's so much support there for you and so much encouragement.
It's amazing. And I saw in the chat, it's okay to use Samantha's name. Okay. I know Samantha Stainer is one of the buddies for Julie. I know she was very motivated by, wasn't it Samantha's post that she said that she had lost the weight with Bright Line Eating? And we have been on a conversation with starting out bright. So that is, Samantha is just a rock star, and, so incredible. What you're saying about two things here: community in the group and community one-on-one. Mm-hmm. None of that happens unless you take the step and get into it. And, I mentioned We Write with Lines, and you said a recipe group. There's the Recipe Ideas group with Natalie All and Kelly All. They're Starting Out Bright, which is a private group. Bright Line Eating official group, that's a public group. So everything you post, you do have to kind of be careful, I think. But, there's just so much community. I've never seen anything like it at all. And I know you just can pick up one idea that can be totally life-changing. And now when we talked the other day, you told me that there was a big idea that you saw on one of the groups that helped you. And I'm talking about music.
Yes,
At
music
what
was
point did
huge.
you see that?
That actually was very early on when I was just starting. I think that could have been close to the first week I started Bright Line Eating, because I just knew music would be a great thing for me to help me, right? Like motivational type songs. So I had posted on the Starting Out Bright group asking if anybody could suggest any songs that were motivational that I might like. And there was someone on there who was so generous. She shared her whole playlist with me, and people kept, so many people offered ideas and suggestions. And now I have this beautiful playlist. And for me, that was huge, right? And I know that's all going to be individual, what helps everybody is so different, what helps people. But for me, listening to music, like let's say I'm at a family barbecue and there's NMF there and I'm like getting tempted. So easy for me to throw on my earbuds, go for a 5-minute walk, play, this girl is on fire or something like that.
Right.
And just make me go, yes, you can do this. You are strong. You've got this. Right. And so I use it for that if I need it. But I also find it really helps my mindset because I listen to it a lot. So like, let's say I'm cooking supper or I'm cleaning the house, I'll put on my playlist. And even just singing those songs while I'm doing things, it just almost helps my brain almost, you start feeling like you are that powerful as they talk in the songs,
Right.
There's just so many songs out there that make you feel, like you can do this, you've got this, you're worth it. Right.
And I love that you even say let's say you're at an occasion, someone's house, and you're saying, I can step out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, could you even imagine doing that in the past? I mean, when we're in the middle of the whole food thing, of stepping away from it, yet it's the stepping away and pausing for just a minute to think about it, and did you find like in the beginning you had more of a self-awareness of going through these motions that you're making really motions of cleaning out your kitchen. I didn't do that. And I can only imagine that that's hard to do, but so much easier in the end to have that out of your house.
For me, it was, yeah. I think all of the little steps I did really did help, right? Like, because when you, like the willpower gap, right? Like, I really do feel that is a real thing. You know what I mean? Like, and I have not started exercising yet because of that. Mm-hmm. I still have probably at least 50 more pounds to go, right? Before I reach what I think might be my goal weight. That'll just take me back to where I was in high school. But like, the willpower gap, I always wondered about the willpower gap, honestly, and I'm just going to give you an example of my willpower gap realization. We were driving home from Ontario this summer, and we were driving from Winnipeg all the way to Dawson Creek, BC. So it was like an 18-hour drive, and we decided to do it all in one go. I had ended up back on my walking sticks again this summer for 3 weeks. This time, not because of pardon me?
Why was that?
This time it wasn't because of my arthritis, but I'm having a bit of damage to my meniscus, which is also because of all my weight and everything, right? Like I've damaged my body, right? But it's doing much better now. And of course, every pound I lose is getting less pressure on my knees. So my knees are feeling fantastic now. So that's good. But anyway, we were driving home. And of course, because I was on walking sticks, I was having to sit. I couldn't sit like with my knees straight the whole time. I'd have to spread it out and I'd have to change how I sat all the time. And after 18 hours in the car, I was exhausted. I was in pain from my knee. And we had to stop somewhere for food for the rest of the family. And my husband had to buy some NMF. And I was in the car and I was just wanting it so bad. And normally I was fine. Like the whole rest of the trip, I was fine. I could do it. And I had my own food. I'd packed in a cooler. And I'd had no desire for their food. But I think because I was hurting so much, I was so tired, I wanted it, right?
Right.
And I told my husband, I said, oh my goodness, I want those so bad. And he was so sweet. He just rolled down the window and he tossed them out. He's like, nope. He goes, if that's being hard for you, they're gone. And
Wow.
he goes, the birds will enjoy them, right? So,
That's
you know,
incredible. That's incredible support.
and that was yeah, really, I'm so lucky. I really am. Like, I know the more support you have, the easier and better your journey might be, right? Because if I didn't have this support, would I have lasted this long, right? And for me, it's big, right? But that was my big realization right there about the willpower gap. The willpower gap is real, and I try really hard to be aware of where I'm at in a given day. Like Christmas time, I do have a couple of people that historically I do Christmas baking for, right? And I really wanted to do that for them this year. And so I thought, well, I'm going to try. And if it's too hard, I'll stop. But I was able to do it, a whole day of doing that and freezing things, and it went okay. But then the next day was New Year's Eve dinner day. And when it came time making supper and stuff and planning for making some NMF for supper, I knew I was not in a place to do it that day. And I just said, nope, I can't do it. And so I told my kids, if you want dessert, then you guys are in charge of it. So, yeah, and they happily did that. My youngest said, I'll take that on. So I just had to tell him what to do, and he did it. But I just try to know my limits. Like when I'm feeling like that I think it might be a problem, then I won't do it. Right.
Well, I want to back up to something you said as far as the support piece, because you do, it sounds like, have amazing support. Not everybody does. And I know that, you do the music, which a few people are mentioning how great it would be to get your playlist. We have to talk about that. But some of the habits that we are encouraged to do, such as journal writing or meditating or just gratitude, doing some of these things, these can replenish your willpower too. So for someone who's feeling, I can't do it, I know the people around me are not going to be supportive, you really can. And another piece that Julie said is the community and getting a buddy. That is huge. When all around you is, I don't have negative support. My husband's a great support, but there are children in the house. And so they're not a part of my food piece. And there's NMF all over the place. And so I have to replenish my willpower at times. And that can be just talking to myself. These Zoom calls replenish my willpower by like the inspiration that you're giving and the many others who have talked. I will listen to those Zoom calls again. It's not like they're off in forgotten land. I go back because I know certain things that people have said, and I'm like, I got to hear that again today. And so all of that is good. You talked about listening to Susan's vlogs. So I just want to assure someone who is thinking that there's no way I can do this because I don't have that fantastic support. You really can. You may have to find other support, and you may have to, create some other habits, but you can do it. I promise you can do it, and we're here for you. So Julie, go ahead and tell us more about what you did to make this a success.
Okay. I'll talk about research then. I'm going to talk about research in the ditch because they kind of link. For me, Susan Pierce Thompson, in one of her vlogs, she talked about, well, she's said it many times. I've heard her say it, but she would never deny anybody doing their research, right? Like people who want to try to do things a little different or see if they can handle having some NMF in their day or whatever she said. People have to kind of figure that out for themselves. So for me, I know historically for me, anytime I've been having success losing weight, I end up putting it back on because of that, right? Because I've tried to do my research. I'll be like, oh, I've been good for this long. It's okay if I have this NMF. And then I end up like in what we call the ditch, but I used to just call quitting, but end up in that ditch, right? And so I know that about myself. I know that if I do that, that's what's going to happen. I'm going to hit that ditch. And I try to tell myself, whenever I'm tempted, I try to tell myself, Julie, you don't need to do the research. You know how it goes for you. And there's hundreds of other people on these Facebook groups that have done the research and they talk about it, and they quite often with cautionary tales of the ditch, right? And so for me, I'm like, learn from them, right? Like people share their stories because they are all trying to help each other. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they're not necessarily sharing their stories because they want to, like, they're not joyous about maybe being in the ditch. Do you know what I mean? But
Right.
they're sharing with people so people know, like, be careful, like, this is what happened to me, right? So I try to just remind myself that, these people have done that, and I can benefit from what they've been through by trying to not go there. And then for the ditch, oh my goodness, the ditch, I have this visualization of the ditch that I use. And for me, it really does help me because I don't picture the ditch as a ditch. It's not this smooth little ditch where you drive your car in and you just pop right out the other side. Like, that's not my ditch. My ditch is like a cliff, and that's what my ditch is, because that's what it's always been like for me. I fall off and I'm gone. I never come back up, right? And so I picture myself down in the bottom of this cliff, and I picture myself trying to climb it, like rock climbing, trying to get up this cliff. And I imagine how much my knees hurt and how hard it is to lift my weight up that cliff. And I'm just go, Julie, you're not going to do it. You're not going to get back up that cliff. So every time I think about NMF, I go, nope, you're not going there, because you won't be able to get back out of that ditch. And so that's kind of something that helps me.
I piggybacking on that, I remember as we have 5 kids, and as they were in their teen years, I would say to them, you either learn from example or you are the example. And one day I realized, oh, I am the example as far as my weight. Like, if you do this, then you get that. And, it's talk is cheap. And so, when I really said those words, and I said them often to our children, you either learn from example or you are the example, meaning their friends and, what everybody's doing, getting in trouble and all that kind of stuff. But you either learn from the example or you are the example. And I too have read all the cautionary tales. I don't want to go. I don't want to drive into the ditch and not be able to get out. Or for you, like your visualization of going off the cliff, because look at how easy it could be. Seriously,
Yeah.
but there is a path, to just follow. And, that is the main thing. So how do you prepare that path every day?
I commit my food every night to 2 people. So I text them my food every single night. And there's been times where I've debated on stopping that. And I actually remember once talking to my husband and saying, I don't know if I need to do that anymore. Like, I'm doing good enough. Maybe I don't need to go. And actually, he gave me the best advice. He was like, but it's working. So why mess with it when it's working? Right. And I was like, that's so true. Like, sometimes it's almost 1:00 in the morning by the time I send what my food's going to be, but I make sure that is done before I go to bed. Right. So, and I do really feel that helps me too. Having that plan, whatever my lunch is ready, my breakfast is out. And when it comes to like the food prep part of it, I really do find that's integral for me, because you don't always have time in life to do those things, like to prep lunches and breakfasts, like mug cakes, for example, like Natalie All's mug cakes. Like, I think there was a picture of it in the slideshow.
Yes.
But somebody in the Starting Out Bright group had told me that they make it 6 times a mug cake and then they cook it in a bundt pan. And I tried that, but the bundt pan didn't work for me. So I do mine in a 13 by 9 inch pan now, and I do 6 servings. And then that does me and my husband for 3 meals, right? And then I freeze them. And all I got to do is pull them out. And then the next morning, I just mix my yogurt with the whatever topping it is and throw it on. And I have dinner ready in like 2 minutes, right? And I know some people might be like, well, mug cakes only take 4 minutes to cook in the microwave. But when you're making 2 for 2 people, and by the time you put all the ingredients together and you're weighing them separate and you're doing all of that, it does end up taking me probably 15, 20 minutes to do. So I do whatever I can and freeze whatever I can to make it easy so that if it is midnight when I'm texting my food to my friends, I can just go, oh, I know I have that mug cake down there, and I just go down and pull out 2. And because my husband, he doesn't care, he just eats whatever. I get to pick, which is nice.
Yes.
But I do that with a lot of stuff, and it really does help. What else do I do to plan for my day?
Well,
those are the main things I would say.
So what do you do? I know we talked about meditation. You do something I had not heard of doing before.
Okay, well, this is new to me. Okay, so I still consider myself to be pretty new. Like, I've been doing bright line eating for 7 months, and I've really been focusing just on making sure I'm doing my food plan right. And I haven't really added much to my habit stacks. Like, I did join the All Access because I really want the maintenance part, and I'm scared of maintenance, honestly. I'm worried that's when my saboteur is going to talk to me the loudest. But when it comes to building my habit stacks, I'm starting that. So I only started that though this week, right? But I decided that what I wanted to do for my next habit was the meditation piece, because for me right now, I've been doing pretty good, but at some point, life is going to get more stressful than it currently is, right? And things are going to get harder. And I always have been an emotional eater, so I'm worried, okay, when things start getting tougher, you are going to be more inclined to potentially go off the rails. So meditation is something I want to start so that I can hopefully prevent that when the time comes. Like, I'll already be hopefully good in my meditation practice. But I am going to be doing it a little different than maybe a lot of people are, because I'm going to use my Muse, which she had put in the slideshow as well. So basically I'll just show you guys. This is the Muse. You can look it up online. But basically what it is you put it over behind your ears and across the middle of your forehead. And then you set it up, and it's on an app that goes on your device. So you can put it on your phone, or I think you can put it on your iPad, but I'm not 100% sure, but it works for your phone for sure. And it gives you neural feedback, like in the moment while you're meditating. So it's kind of cool because it has a whole bunch of different scenarios in there. Like, one is like you're at the beach, one is you're in a rainforest, one is you're in a city. I don't know how that one can be relaxing for anybody, but I guess if you've lived in a city your whole life, but I'm just like, no. But anyway, and one's a campfire. So there's all these different scenarios that you can use. So when you have it on and you're listening, it's actually telling the app what you're doing. So the whole goal of it is to hear the birds chirping in the background. So when you put it on, you'll, let's say you're doing the beach scene, you'll hear, when you're doing really well with your meditation and your breathing's good, you're relaxed, your thoughts are all staying calm, then you hear this nice gentle lapping water on the beach, and you hear birds chirping. Now, if your brain goes off on some tangent, like the one time I was doing it, and all of a sudden I went, oh, I have to remember to pick up milk tomorrow at the store. All of a sudden the waves start crashing and you hear thunder and you can't hear the birds at all. It's just like, water crashing on, and then you have to like go, oh, and you gotta just kind of go, and you gotta breathe, and you gotta calm yourself back down and get yourself back to that calm place. And as you're calming down, the water starts to settle again. Then you get this gentle lapping on the beach again. And it's really great for me. I think it's gonna be great for me because I'm very new to meditation, and the whole goal is to get more birds chirping, and then I'll know I'm getting better in my meditation. And it actually graphs and charts everything. So you can see your progress. You can see I'm getting better at this as I go. Yeah, and it's really good. And there is a fee you can pay for a yearly fee for other meditations that go with it as well. Like if you want people who do talk you through meditations, there's some of that on there as well. But I just find I like the listening to the sounds and trying to hear the birds the best for me. So that's going to be what I'm going to start.
Those sound really interesting. And I'm amazed that it can tell the difference. Like if you're talking about in your head, hey, I need to go and pick up some milk at the store. And it must be just, gauging that blood pressure or whatever. So I think you can find it on Amazon. Someone asked that question, and I did see it on Amazon. In fact, it looked like it was on sale, but when I looked, but.
Yeah, if you go to, if you just type in Muse, it's harder to find it. But if you go to themuse.com, I think is what it is. So you could look there.
Well, I have a question for you. You've gotten this far. As of today, you've lost 90 pounds overall from your top weight. I know not all of it was BLE, but everybody, this is like huge. So what are your goals for the future?
Well, they're funny. You might think they're funny goals, but I found a coat I really, really liked in the fall.
A coat.
And I just love the color of it. I love the shape of it. And I bought it. It was a little too small when I bought it, but now it's actually a little too big. And when the sale came on I was kind of like, I want to go and get a smaller size. And I was trying to decide what size to get, right? Because this one was an extra large. And I was like, do I buy a large or do I buy a medium? Because I'm like, I may never see this coat again. They may not have it next year in this color, and I really want it. So I ended up buying it in a medium because I figured, well, if I only get down to a large size, then my extra large coat should still fit. But I'm like, everybody keeps talking on the groups how like they're so surprised how far they get down. Like I'm like kind of like, maybe I actually will end up in a medium. But I thought, well, I'll buy it, and that's going to be one of my goals is see if that works. I mean, you can't make yourself fit into a medium if you're not meant to, but I bought it just in case. And somebody was showing me, I don't know if you guys watched those TikTok videos or on Facebook where they have the little reels that you can watch.
I just started watching those silly things.
Yeah, I just started too. I think it was my husband.
They're actually kind of fun, some of them.
Yeah. So anyways, I was kind of thinking, wouldn't it be fun to be able to do one of those cool little shuffle dances, like for me, that would mean a lot to me to go from having to be on walking sticks at the age of 45 to at the age of hopefully 50, because I'll be 50 in May. Hopefully by May, I might have lost more and maybe my knee will be feeling good enough that I could try doing one of those funny little dances just for myself, right? Like just to be able to say I could do it, I guess. Yeah.
Well, just for yourself, but when you think about, we talked the other day about keeping your eyes on your own plate, but you had a remark that you said that when you're keeping your eyes on your own plate.
You keep your eyes on your own plate, but trust me, other people are keeping their eyes on yours. That's one thing I say a lot because I've just noticed, people do. They notice you've changed your eating and they notice you're getting results. And then people reach out to you. And even my own family, like I've noticed, my kids making better choices, right? Like we'll be shopping sometimes and I might even offer like, oh, well, did you want me to buy that for you? And like the answer is like, nope, I don't need that. Right. So they're making changes too. So I'm kind of like, yeah, I think just do you and worry about yourself. And
I think, and I'm maybe the Lone Ranger here, and maybe it's being negative. I don't know, but having for myself had like 30 years of dieting, 30, like almost your whole life. Like I'm almost your whole life, just my dieting. But when you have tried so many times, and that's the one thing I actually gave myself that much, that I did try. Like I was like the ultimate trier. But people also saw me fail or, just fall off. I don't want to say failure, but, like I would get so far 50 pounds off and then I'd gain it back. So keeping your eyes on your own plate really is, you can't even let any of that dissuade you from what you have to do. What I need to do today is look at my own plate, actually enjoy what I have here, actually, just be grateful for what I have here. And also know that it's nourishing and that I'm making progress every single day. Even though it may not show up on the scale, it shows up if I can wear my skinny jeans that I bought.
Yeah, exactly. That is that's another, you reminded me, that's another one of the ones I want. If I can get into skinny jeans someday, I'll be like shocked and incredibly pleased to be able to wear them, I gotta say.
They're the best advertisement. By seeing that on the pants, like I bought them and I just had them, and I thought, if I hit Wonderland, I am wearing these pants. Guess what? I wore them today, which is just a miracle. Well, the time is getting short, and I want to ask you, you have been through 7 months, you said?
Yeah.
7 months. What amazing progress you've made. In all of that time, Julie, what would you say are some of those non-scale victories that you just celebrate?
Oh my goodness. Well, I actually have permission to be off my meds from my doctor, completely off my diabetes meds anyway. And I'm still just doing a tiny little bit for another month. And then I'm hoping that at that point I'll go right off them. But just for my own, she told me I would have to exercise every single day to do that. And I didn't want to have to try to use my willpower for that. So, but soon I will be off completely. So that's good. Just being able to go up and down the stairs without hurting as much. Like, my kids have spent, I don't know how many years being my road runner for anything up and down those basement stairs. Do you know what I mean? Like, yes. Hey, can you go get me this? Can you go get me that? And it's because it hurt. It hurt to go up and down the stairs. So, I mean, honestly, on Monday, I was at a school, and I actually was like, they're smaller stairs, not like normal steeper stairs, but I actually jogged up those stairs. And I was like, like little things like that. Noticing like, oh, wow, I have a collarbone, like I can cross my legs now.
That's an amazing thing.
My wedding ring went from not fitting to being like too big. Like I still can't wear it. So that's one of my main goals too, is like, that's going to be my treat for when I reach my maintenance, is I want to get my ring resized and finally wear my wedding ring that I have not worn, and I can't even remember how many years. I bet it's
me too.
Well over 15 years.
Samantha's asking, how's your arthritis?
Oh, way better. No joint pain anymore. My knee still bugs me a bit, like when I'm doing stairs. Like it's not, but like I said, I still have 50 pounds more to go, right? So I'm hopeful that if I can get rid of that other 50 pounds, that will go away. But yeah, I feel so good. I move so much better. I can walk now quickly without worrying about, is my knee going to suddenly pop and do something weird, like, because at first it would, like, I could be walking and all of a sudden my knee would just suddenly hurt, and all of a sudden I wouldn't be able to take that next step. And it's like, I have not had that happen in probably at least 6 months. Right. So it's nice.
That says just turning over in bed is like so much easier. Going back to that knee pain, because that was one of my big whys. The knee pain was just so excruciating. I was too proud to bring a cane with me outside of the house, but at home I would use a cane. I was starting to, like, the last 3 weeks before I started Bright Line Eating, and I would be using it at home. And I would have never imagined the pain in a knee. I also had just one knee that was in pain, but I would have never imagined how that can just debilitate you and shut down your mobility. I mean, just totally. Forget about climbing steps or anything. It's hard enough to walk across the street. Just too much. And I'm hearing comments, knees were so bad at age 60 that the doctor wanted to have both knees replaced. And it's a very, very common situation. It takes so much on those joints to carry our bodies. And so, you know what, losing 5, then 10, then 15, all of it helps. It just is really incredible. I have one more question to ask you, Julie,
Okay.
because our time is almost up.
Yeah.
Knowing what you know now, and I know you heard about Bright Line Eating 5 years ago, but knowing what you know now, if there was somebody here that is on the fence, wondering maybe it'll work for her, but I don't know so much about me, what would you say to them?
Oh my goodness. First of all, read the book. If you haven't read the book, please read the book, because like if you have any of the same kind of eating things that I had, the book was huge because it really made me go, like, honestly, when I read the book, it was almost like this weight got lifted off my shoulders. Like, it was like, it had nothing to do with you not being strong enough or having enough willpower. It had nothing to do with that. It had to do with the brain chemistry in your brain is what it is, and the book really made me go, this is why you couldn't lose weight before. Like, you can do this, right? And I just follow the plan. Just follow the plan. That's all I have to say. Like, if you can do it and say, I'm going to try this, do it perfectly if you can. Try not to break your lines at all. And then you'll see the success. You will see quickly how much better you feel. Like, I was amazed how fast the cravings went away. They went away so fast. And it's like, even just having those cravings gone made a huge difference for me with how well I could do on the program, right? And I just follow it very precisely. I weigh and measure everything right to the decimal one. Like, if I'm supposed to have 4 ounces of protein, there is no going 4.1 ounces. And I remember at first my husband goes, does it really matter that you cut that teeny tiny little piece off? I'm like, oh yeah, it does. Because it's about also you and how you think of yourself, right? Like your integrity, and like, this is what I'm doing, and I'm going to follow that and do it. But you know what, all I can say is, if I can succeed at this when I have never had success before, and I'm loving how I eat, I'm loving how I feel, if I can do it, I feel really confident that you can do it. That's what I have to say. And just try.
I hope that person listens to every word you just said, Julie, because you're living proof that you said, like, the cravings can, go away quickly. In the chat earlier, Linda mentioned about the automaticity. What a gift that is. Who knew? Who knew that your brain could be wired the other way now? Yeah. That it would feel weird if you went over the 4 ounces, or what parameters you have with that food. There's like, this is what I do. It's my identity now. This is what I do, and I'm enjoying it.
That's and right.
I have this big spread at lunch. Everybody thinks I have a smorgasbord going on over there. I mean, it's just amazing. So, yeah, Julie, you've got, what do you got, any last words before we close up?
I just want to say, reach out for help. If you're ever doing this and you want to reach out for help, you people can even private message me. I will help and help connect you with sites that might help you. Like, that's how I learned everything, right? Is from joining those private groups and from having a buddy who could tell me which groups to go to and where to look for support. And that's how you learn to find all these really great recipes. Because like, once I stopped eating plain and I started experimenting more with recipes, there's so many delicious recipes that everybody out there has created. You do not have to be deprived eating Bright Line Eating. Like, I love how I eat. I really do. I do not feel like I'm missing out on anything.
And you can love how you feel, and with things, and I'm going to put you on the spot here. Are you willing to share that playlist?
Yes, I was going to ask you, how do I get that to everybody?
Let's get on Starting Out Bright, and we can share it the same way that you found out about it. Then that'll be just wonderful. So for those who put in the chat, they were wondering about it, go to Starting Out Bright. Well, Julie, the time is up, but wow, the ideas, inspiration, information, so much good stuff. I just appreciate you saying yes to coming on, and thank you so much for everything and sharing your story tonight. Really
Thank you for
appreciate it.
inviting me. Thanks
You're
for having me.
welcome. So I'm going to close as I do each week. Good night. Stay bright. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
So, Julie, how would you like to play 3-Question Thursday?
Sure, Noreen, I would
All
love to
right.
play a few questions.
Okay. So we talked about like some of the simple foods that you said that you made simple foods. What are some of those quick meals or simple meals that you made? What were some of your favorites, if you can remember? Or are you still using them?
I don't use as many of them now. I do, some I do. Like I like having just like an egg and a piece of Ezekiel bread with an apple and some milk. You know, that's one of a simple one I will still do. But like I've noticed my taste buds have changed so much. Like I used to Fiber One cereal. I used to have that with 8 ounces of milk and an apple. That was a lot I used at first, but now that my taste buds have changed, like I find milk tastes sweet to me now. So I don't do as much milk as I used to. But yogurt, like overnight oats with the berries and the 1 ounce of oats and the yogurt and milk mixed in. That was another one that I did a lot. Yeah, it was such simple things like the rice cakes with some peanut butter and a banana. But now it's kind of like now that I've switched over to more of because now I find too, I have more time because like now I take time to prep and I've developed more systems of doing things, I think. Whereas at first it took all my time and energy just figuring out how to eat plain and simple and make sure I was looking it up and am I figuring out that right? And I didn't break down into, like I wanted to keep it simple so I didn't mess up too. Does that make sense?
Right.
So like my proteins even, I rarely would split. So I rarely would have 2 ounces of meat and 4 ounces of yogurt. Even that I didn't do that often just because I wanted to know it's 4 ounces of protein. Here's my 4 ounces of protein. It's this much vegetables. Here's this much vegetables. And that's basically why I kept it so simple at first, I think, was just because I wanted to know I was doing it right.
So on the question number 2, do you prep in bulk? I know you gave me a picture that showed like, I don't know, 8 of the same thing. Yeah. But are you prepping in bulk, like baking a lot of things in bulk? I know you talked also about the mug cakes that you do in a 9x13 or 8x13.
Yeah, I do that. I do that with, on the weekends, I try to prep at least 1 meal for breakfast and at least 1 meal for supper. And if I take the time and do that, then I always have a stash of stuff in my freezer, you know, like even like soups, I'll pre-make some soups. So, and then I have like enough freezer space that I can do that, right? So I can have, then I'll end up having like 5 different kinds of soups. Like right now in my freezer, I have like loaded cauliflower in there. I have the shepherd's pie in there. I have Lazy Man's cabbage rolls in there. I have 4 different soups in there. And then same for breakfasts. I have like the blueberry chickpea blondies also do really well. Like 1 large tin of chickpeas, if anybody finds that recipe, will do 4 servings. So I make 4 servings and then I do that in a 13x9-inch cake pan as well. And I just kind of do it that way. And then there's always choices. And then I always have my days where I do like plan to cook, but sometimes I just go, oh, today I don't want to worry about tomorrow. I'm just going to grab those out of the freezer and I'm good to go. Right.
Yeah.
And I do find it is worth my time and effort to do that, especially for my lunches, because they're always there for my lunches. And suppers too. I try to keep those simple as well. Like we all have those nights where we might be working a little later, or we know we have stuff we have to do after work and we're not going to get home till 6. I always try to make sure I have some kind of meal that's quick and easy and fast to do. So I have absolutely 0 reason to try to convince myself of anything else, right? Like
this is just for you or for the whole family?
I do it for the whole family. Like, well, because me and my husband, well, when you have 2 of you eating, the same way. You're going through a lot of vegetables a night, right?
Oh, yeah.
My kids will not touch the vegetables, but if I
Not
cook,
yet.
what I try to do is I just will cook, let's say I cook chicken. Then the whole family will eat the chicken. I'll have the vegetables that me and my husband eat. And then the kids, I make some rice for, and then they eat that with their chicken and they're happy. So it kind of works. But like my very quickest meal I make is always have frozen cauliflower rice in the fridge, like always, like bags of it. And if I take a bag of that and then I take a bag of coleslaw mix, I throw that in there, throw in some spices and some seasonings, and I stir fry that up. Then at the end, I can just cut up my protein, put it in it. And sometimes if I really want to, I use cheese in that. Like I just will stir fry it, weigh my portion, and then I will just shred my 1 ounce of cheese on top and stir it into the rice and the coleslaw mix. And it's really, really good.
Are there any seasonings with that or not? This
I
is
usually-
still on question 2.
I use everything bagel seasoning in it. That's what I love. Or a vegetable seasoning of some sort.
So is this like Trader Joe's? The everything bagel?
Well, we don't have a Trader Joe's in Canada, but I know you can get everything bagel seasoning. I only found out about it from the group sites because people kept going, "Oh, this everything bagel seasoning is so delicious," and I was like, everybody keeps talking about this seasoning. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to buy it and try it and see if I can find it in Canada, which of course it was in Canada, which was good. So I did buy it to try, and I was looking at the ingredients. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to like this because it it looks like it has a lot of sesame seeds in it or something. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm not a sesame seed girl. So I was like, oh, you're going to buy it and try it because if this many people are talking about it, it must be good. And now I'll tell you, I'm sad I cannot buy it. I've seen people on the Facebook groups that buy in this great big container, and I can only buy in these little tiny Clubhouse containers. Oh. And when I find those on sale, I buy like 8 because I use it every day.
So our final question in 3-question Thursday. Julie, I want you to go back 7 months. And what would you say to the Julie of that day, just getting ready to go and start Bright Line Eating?
I'll say, Julie, I am so thankful, so thankful that you did it, that you tried, that you read that book, and that you took those steps and you did it. Because, oh my goodness, I cannot express how much healthier I feel. You know what I mean? Like for me, I joined because of the health. I didn't join because I wanted to get skinny. Like I joined because my health was bad and my quality of life was not that great. And I just looked at my future, right? Like I'm like, eventually I'm going to have grandkids come along and I'm not even going to be able to get on the floor and play with them. Like things like that would go through my mind. And I just wanted to be here longer, be here for my family. I want to live as long as I can and be as healthy as I can. And I can't even tell you how much my life has changed in this 7 months. Like it used to be, I'd come home from work, I'd lay on that couch and because I was so tired and hurting. And sometimes I wouldn't even make supper. I'd be like, you guys are on your own. I'm too tired or sore. I don't want to, I have no interest. Right. And it's like, now my life has changed to, I'm hardly ever on the couch watching TV before. I have so much more energy. I don't hurt. I'm not tired. And that's when I sometimes go and prep. I go make my kitchen. I make supper. And then sometimes after I'm supper, like, oh, I'm going to make this blueberry lemon cheesecake for breakfast tomorrow morning. Right. And it's like, and it doesn't bother me to go do that because I'm not exhausted and tired and sore,
It's one thing changes another. You can never just change one thing. And the other day you told me your mantra.
Yes, my mantra is you've got this. And it's always like, when I'm shopping and I have to go past some NMF stuff because you can't avoid it, then it's like, I walk down there and if I even start to look at it, I'm like, nope, you've got this. Not my food. Get going. And I just hustle it out of there. So that's my mantra.
Yeah, Julie, you've got this. And we've all got this. We've got this going. Julie, thank you so much for saying yes and being on Starting Out Bright. And thank you for playing 3-Question Thursday.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It was a delight. So good night, everybody. Stay bright.
Bye.